Mr. John Erath is a Senior Policy Director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation and is now joining us from Washington, D.C. Mr. Erath, good to see you, and thank you very much for making time for us. We are looking at Trump's inauguration in the next 7 days, and Trump has done something very unusual. He's invited heads of state and heads of government to the inauguration ceremony. He's invited Volodymyr Zelensky, but he's not invited Vladimir Putin, and yet we are talking about peace. What do you think about that?
I think that the president-elect has been very clear that he would like to see an end to the war as soon as possible. He at one point said that if both sides were willing, he would want to solve it in one day. I don't think anybody believes that that is realistic at this point, with both sides still perceiving that what they would lose from a early settlement is greater than what they would gain from a ceasefire. But the willingness is there, and at such time that the belligerent parties are ready to meet and come to an agreement, President Trump will be ready to help facilitate such an agreement.
Mr. Erath, it's interesting that you say that the willingness is there, but what is the stumbling block? Is it Russia? Is it Ukraine? Because Ukraine has been seeking a diplomatic solution to this war, but Russia is not giving in.
At this point, in order to come to a ceasefire very quickly, Ukraine would ask that Russian troops would be removed from Ukrainian territory. That's unacceptable for Russia. Russia would ask that Ukraine agree to give up to 30% of its territory. That's unacceptable to Ukraine. So that basic difference still persists. And that's what is standing in the way right now.
So there is nothing to that effect of, a ceasefire, like you mentioned there. Russia continues to go all out against Ukraine. In that light, can Trump really convince Putin to call off the war? Where are things headed going forward?
I think, unfortunately, there's going to be a continuation in the fighting for at least the first few months of 2025. We saw something very interesting at the end of 2024, which was the arrival of the North Korean forces. Russia has one of the world's largest militaries, and the fact that it was desperate enough to call on another country to provide troops to go in and die in place of Russians shows two things. First is that the Russians value North Korean lives less than Russian lives. And the second is that they're concerned that high levels of Russian casualties that have been incurred by sustaining the offensive operations. These high casualties are not sustainable in the long term, that they need to find a way to reduce those casualties in order to be able to maintain the military pressure on Ukraine.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I've been talking to Mr. John Erath. Mr. John Erath, thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.